Julia Lee joins us now from Bell Direct. Thanks for joining us, Julia. We really did follow that negative lead-in from the US, I guess you could say.
Dean, unfortunately, it was a pretty bad day for the Australian share market. We saw the market losing 0.9%, and that negative lead from the US certainly didn't help. The commodities also tumbled overnight, and that played a large part of it. We saw oil prices down 3%. The oil inventory report much worse than what analysts were predicting, so that pressured oil prices. If we have a look at the market, we saw falls across miners as well as the banks, which did most of the damage. But on the flip side, we did see gains in the consumer staples, the telecom, the utilities areas. So the defensive is doing well, and information technology also gaining. If we have a look at the banks, National Australia Bank saw the biggest falls, down 4%, but it of course was trading ex-dividend. We also saw SP Telemedia continue on its stellar run. It rose another 9.8% after a good run yesterday, and that's after making that beautiful pipe networks. But altogether, the Australian market having a negative one today.
So, Julia, it's Friday the 13th, but it was a pretty lucky day for Kathmandu to make its debut on the market.
Kathmandu had a good debut on the market. It was day one of trading, and it did trade at a premium to the initial public offering price. So if we have a look at Kathmandu's intraday graph, this is what it looks like. Now the shares ended at $1.76. If we have a look at the initial public offering price, it was $1.70. So a good session there, and we saw gains of up to 7% during the session. Now if we have a look at that price, it gives the company a market capitalization of $352 million. Now that would be big enough to be included in the All Ordinaries Index, but it wouldn't be big enough to be included in the ASX 200. So it's probably going to be excluded out of the top 200 stocks in Australia. If we have a look at what Kathmandu is predicting in terms of its outlook, it's predicting sales growth in the current financial year of 12%. That's much higher than what Myer is predicting. Myer is predicting sales growth of 3%. And if we have a look at the PE multiples, well, Kathmandu floated with a PE multiple about 13.4. Myer's not too different at the moment, with a PE ratio of 13.8 based on forecast earnings. But of course, when it first debuted on the market, it had a PE of 14.5, so a significant premium there. But altogether, a great debut for Kathmandu, and today we saw the shares up by 3.5% at the close.
Okay, Julia, it being Friday, why don't we take just a quick look back at some of the winners and the losers for the week overall?
Let me just bring up trading for the week, and this is the ASX 200. Over the was information technology, followed by the materials as well as the discretionary sector. But the worst sector was energy, but even the energy sector managed a gain of 1.2%, and that was closely followed by some of the defensive areas like healthcare as well as utilities. If we have a look at individual stocks, Babcock & Brown Infrastructure went into a trade suspension, but it was still the worst performing stock with a loss of 5.4%. The best performing stock, you won't be surprised to hear, was AXA. It received a takeover bid from AMP, and for the week its shares soaring 34%. If we have a look at some of the other best performers out there, we also saw Nexus Energy and Molopo gaining more than 15%. So those stocks also doing well. So altogether, a positive session for the week, even though we did see a down day on Friday.
Okay, Julia, have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks, Nadine.